So good afternoon, everyone. So I would like to welcome all of you in this agriculture workshop. And nowadays it is very important issue, that is the phytosanitary aspect. That is, so our topic is phytosanitary challenges and the impact of invasive species on agriculture in Asia, a regional analysis. So nowadays, you know that for the international trade, there is a main barrier. One of the important barrier is the invasive alien species. So once it is infected or identified, the invasive alien species, so it can restrict the international trade, which can impact the economy. So we choose this one, and I would like to thanks to the APAN61 to accept our workshop title and to arrange the program here. So what is the invasive species? That is, actually we all know that is the organisms that is transported by humans and successfully established in the new areas, so that you know that once it is invaded in a new country, it can establish in a new area if the environmental condition is favorable and the host plant is available in that area. Considering this one, invasive species actually is the threat for the biodiversity and also for the food security, health and economic development of a country. Once it come, it may be a very small things, but once it is established, this invasive species can be a great threat for the food security, safety, and the health and economic development of a country. It can cause the enormous damage of the biodiversity and the economy of a country. How much damage it can cause? So I will present in my next slide. So due to their rapid growth and different dispersal capabilities, because once the environment is favorable, host plant is available, so that they can establish in a diversified area in these regions, so that they can cause the enormous damage to this specific country. Considering this one, this is not only the native or local, but it might be a regional or maybe global issues nowadays. So here you can see that is alien species, if it is mice or ticks, very small tiny things, sometimes you may ignore that it might not cause the serious damages or the impact on the specific country. But you can see that once it is established, then it might be a monster. So that you have to spend a lot of money, lot of effort, lot of time to manage these things. Considering this one, so that we cannot ignore the invasive alien species, whether it is insects, plants, arthropods, or animals. So we must consider these things as a serious issue, considering any country's economy, especially for the food security and food safety. So how much impact they can cause? You can see here is the cost-benefit ratio. So once the invasive species is absent, you can get the economic return. If you spend $1, it can return you the $100. If it is established, that means it is invaded in a new area, so new country, you can see that if you invest $1 to protect it, you can return it $5 to $10. That means the cost benefit ratio is reducing. Once it is invaded and rapidly increases distribution and abundance in any areas or any populations, so you can see that cost benefit ratio is reducing more, that is 1:2.5. That means once it is established and the environment and the host plant is available, it can be widely distributed in this specific area. So the cost benefit ratio is very close. That means if you invest $1, it can return you $1 or same dollar or $1.5. That means in the early times, that is, it is absent or maybe in the initial part of the establishment. So if you make some SPS, that is sanitary phytosanitary measures, or any kind of restriction or regulations, so the cost benefit ratio will be higher. In that case, we must have to consider at the early stage of any kind of alien invasive species to invade in any countries, so that the cost benefit ratio will be higher and so that we can get the return more. Here, how much invaded actually the economic loss can be happen due to the biological invasion. You can see this graph here, the storm, biological invasion, earthquake, flood, drought, like these things, that in the worldwide global economic losses from the biological invasion. You can see that around 2005, the biological invasion cost is little bit lower, but after 2005, the biological invasion increased sharply and it goes to 1,208 billion US dollar. Initial, the first position goes to the storm, then the biological invasion. After 2005, because the international trade is increasing so much among the countries and the traveling is increased so much and environmental changing done in a rapid way, so that the biological invasion or report is increasing after 2005 and nowadays it is very high, and so that the biological invasion costing around 1,208 billion US dollar in a global way in a year. So you can see that the hazard cost over time is 702 times increase from 1980 to 2019. So you can see that how much enormous loss can be happened due to the invasive alien species. So this impact is, it has different kind of impact. It can impact negatively on the ecological aspect. That means once it is invaded, it can disrupt our ecology. It can also impact on the biodiversity, especially once the alien invasive species come, they actually displace the native species by the competition of food, shelter, or other things, so that they actually impact our biodiversity. Many of the insects, mice, or some other living organism, they can transmit the diseases. Also, it can also affect the genetic dilution, so that once it is embedded and cross actually mutation or that is compatible, then it may have the genetic dilution. Finally, all of this actually affect negatively on the economy, so it has severe impact on the economy of any of the countries. So it is one of the important thing why we are considering this one, because of the agri trade. Nowadays, for the trade, the SPS, that is sanitary and phytosanitary system, is very complex issue and very restrict issue. So because it protect our health and trade and our agriculture. How? Because it stop the pathogen, parasite, and toxics that can move with food or plants or any kind of animals or living organisms. It prevent the invasive species, like it can block or entry of the new species in a new areas. It might be the insect or arthropods, maybe weed or maybe disease vectors or other things. And also the trade, because we know that stronger SPS, that is sanitary and phytosanitary system, it means the safer border, but compliance cost can limit the market access for developing exporters. Because one, it is reported in the any border of any invasive species, so that they can make some condition to import the any agricultural goods. So you have to spend a lot of money to for the international trades. So these things have lot of challenges and we have lot of opportunities also in the same way. So it cost, once the invasive species we have to identify, we have to do the surveillance system, we have to inspect, we have the quarantine lab and certification system. These are the challenges for the invasive species system. It is harder for smallholder and exporters to meet the requirement. Once we have to comply all of the standard, then we have to spend more. It is very difficult for the smallholder farmers or the exporters. So if it is poorly designed, can look like hidden protectionism. That means once you have to protect it, but if it is not in a sustainable way, then it might be a danger for the next seasons. So that means we have some opportunities here, that if we can restrict in the border, the opportunities is, that means there will be fewer invasion of the invasive alien species, and that means fewer crop loss, and we have to use less pesticide to manage this kind of invasive species. And we have to trust and certification that can expand the exports, because when the exporter want, they have some condition that it is might be pesticide free, maybe some kind of new kind of pest free, so we can meet the demand of the exporter. So this trust is very important. We need the digital SPS system, that is e-certificate, that reduce the delays and fraud. Sometimes there are some e-certificate system or digital system that is developed also in Bangladesh, so that it can rapid response, so that any kind of product you want to export, so you can get the e-certificate and then you make the international trade. So these things, this SPS agreement is related to the World Trade Organization, that requires the scientific justification, that risk-based decision. We always do in kind of species or crops, that is the pest risk analysis. So this actually help to identify take our decision. it must be transparent that which measures we have taken, under which rules and regulations we follow, and that is the same risk and same treatment, that if there are any risk for the invasive alien species, you have to take the appropriate measures to manage or minimize this kind of risk. And it must be harmonized or synchronized with the international standard. They have some international standard, we must follow and comply with this requirement so that our trade is increased. So there are three standard bodies nowadays that is commonly and worldwide accepted. That is first one, the Codex Alimentarius, unit that is food safety risk. Any kind of residues, that is pesticide residues or contaminants or hazard analysis and critical control point identification. So these things is must we have to follow to follow for the international trade. And here the invasive species is the one of the barrier. The IPPC, that is the invasive species engine, we can say that anything we have to notify, that we have to send the information to the IPPC, that is for the any kind of pest risk analysis, international standard for phytosanitary measures, phytosanitary certificate, and quarantine pest list for any kind of exporting country. For good news that in Bangladesh recently we developed a pest risk register for the what kind of quarantine pest is enlisted in our country, that we did with the support of CABI and Department of Agriculture Extension. So any kind of animal disease that can be spread by a trade, so we can do it by surveillance and reporting. Proper surveillance and reporting, we can do these things. So all standard bodies actually we have to comply and harmonize with the international standards. So these are the economic data that is related to SPS compliance cost. You can see that huge amount of financial involvement is here. These are the vegetables, French beans, raspberries, pineapples, in different sectors also, meat, livestock, all these things. You can see that 5 to 13% and 26 to 13% costing is involved here. You can see for French bean, US 1,836 per year for individual farmers, they have to actually spend. So any kind of invasive species, for the confirmation that it is not reported here or take the appropriate measures to minimize this loss or any kind of risk, they have to spend a lot of money to comply the international standard or to export the agricultural commodities, either it is vegetables or fruits, to the different countries. So it is a huge involvement. So new pest invasion, if we consider in Bangladesh condition, you can see that Bangladesh is the 8th global rank. Okay. Bangladesh is one of the densely populated country and 8th in its position by the global ranking due to the current population, and 8th most vulnerable country for the climate change in Bangladesh, considering the natural disaster and climate change. And we have a limited arable land, and every year 1% arable land is decreasing due to the development, road and other construction. So considering these things, if the population is increasing, land is decreasing, we are actually approaching the climate change and natural disasters, so that if new pest invaded in the country, it might be a great threat for our agricultural production, food security and food safety. Considering this one, we always have to do the surveillance, that is the official process, to collect and record data for the presence or absence of any kind of invasive species. That is according to international standard for phytosanitary measures 6. There is a strict and that is tabulated form that we can do this survey in 3 ways. That is the delimiting, detection and monitoring survey. Delimiting survey means we have to define the boundary of the pest. Once it is invaded, we can confine this pest in a specific area. Another one is detection, that whether it is present or not, this species. Another one is monitoring, whether it is increasing or decreasing, the trend, and what are the host plants they can actually infest. So that this kind of survey we have to do for any kind of invasive species. And in our country, that means mostly the plant protection wing, Department of Agriculture Extension is conducting these things. They made regular survey and then forecasting. They have the pest identification and risk assessment process, and all these things we have to do the management. So we have the cost involvement is survey as well as the management. So many things involved, and all to do these activities we need the money so that it actually impact on the economy. So in lastly, we can say that we have conducted several workshop and the seminars for the invasive species system, and we use the KV horizon scanning tools. These tools actually support us to collect the lot of data, especially the invasive species. Considering this one, we prepared the pest risk register. Here are some of the pictures that we did. So we identified 20 arthropod pest that is mostly dangerous, we can say, or the mostly impactful. So these are the insects and arthropods you can see, and out of them the Brontispa, that is red, and the Thrips parvicinus, these two we take for further steps for the survey and the pest risk analysis. And Brontispa longispina is not yet reported in Bangladesh, but we can say one, it is actually reported as invasive, but now we can say Thrips parvicinus already embedded in Bangladesh. It actually affect lot of host plants and is distributed mostly all over the country in Bangladesh. So these are the pest that is reported as invasive species in Bangladesh. So in our country, although this is a quarantine pest initially, but nowadays all these pests actually already invaded in Bangladesh. So this presence is confirmed by the entomologist. So they say confirm that all these things are already reported in Bangladesh. You can see that the reported time is 2018, 16, 19, 17, 20, mostly because the international trade is expanding, traveling is expanding, so that the new pest actually invaded in Bangladesh. So it is now a great threat for our agriculture. Here are some of the pathogens. You maybe know that blast and some other disease you might know. So these are the pathogens that is also an invasive species that invaded in our country and affect different kind of host, especially cucurbit, barley, potato, root rot, wild host range, and banana. So these are the pathogens that can that invaded and already reported. These are the tree species. There are a lot of tree that is also invasive species that can also impact on our agricultural system. You can see there is Akashmoni, Shishu, Mangiam, that is Ipilipil, pine, mahogany, so teak. These are the invasive species now already reported in Bangladesh. There are some invasive or exotic aquatic species also in our country, that is tilapia, carp. We all know these things. Now it is already available, but it is also invasive species reported. And nowadays one of the most dangerous, we can say, but impactful is suckermouth catfish. This is this one. You can see that this is actually the aquarium fish, but somehow it is actually somebody maybe throw in the river or lake or canal. But now you can see in the Brahmaputra, anywhere you can see, if you throw some net in the river of Brahmaputra or Shitolaka, you can get lot of catfish, and it is actually displace some of the native species. So it is very severe. You cannot eat it directly. So, and not only the aquatic animal, but also you can see the aquatic plant also, water hyacinth, that is kochuripana. We all know these things. So this is also invasive. Some morning glory, yellow barhead, water primrose. These are the aquatic species also that is invasive, that can also compete with our agricultural system. So one of the species that I want to inform you all, that is the Thrips parvicinus, which is now reported in Bangladesh. If we see the global distribution, you can see that after first reported in 1922, it was very early, but later on it actually expanded, and now the Asia and Pacific region is mostly invaded by the Thrips parvicinus. We can say it tobacco thrips, black thrips, and most of the Asia Pacific region is reported this Thrips parvicinus. Bangladesh it is reported in 2024, but in 2025 and 26, that is spreaded almost all of the areas in Bangladesh. We made survey, so we got this information, and we make some sampling in different localities in Bangladesh, especially the border region in Bangladesh, as well as the vegetable growing region in Bangladesh. So from here we can see that Thrips parvicinus can it can infest the leaves, it can infest the fruits, it can infest the flowers also. If heavily infested, the flower will be drop off, and there will be no fruit. If it is the fruit is infested, the fruit shape is damaged and curly, so it deforms. So once you want to uh, export, definitely it will be not received by the importing country, and they can decline your export. So this is a great threat, and due to this species nowadays, European Union don't want to, they want to confirm that there is no Thrips parvispinus in the host plant. So this is a severe test. Here is the video. You can see that this Thrips species, it is a bicolor. That is, the head region is brown in color and the blackish is the abdomen. You can see they are very cryptic. So they can hide inside the flower, inside the leaves, and this is the female actually. You can see that you cannot see in the naked eye. Sometimes you have to put it in the alcohol so that the insect can come. This is the male. So this is the same color, and this is the male color, which is very tiny and less than 1 millimeter in length. So sometimes we have to give lot of effort to collect this, and all these things actually related with the economy. That means you have to spend a lot of money. So once the invasive species invaded, it definitely affect your economy. So before that, we have can take the appropriate measures in the border area or the transaction area, so that the invasive species cannot enter in the new area and establish. So here is the some of the pictures you can see or video, that it can infest not only not only the chili, it is the main host of chili, but it can also infest like tea, like brinjal, some bean. So many other hosts can be infested. So we made some contingency and response plan that it is already embedded and established in our country. So how we can minimize? Otherwise, our import will be definitely declined and have to do some lot of activities. So this is because it can cause the leaf curly, it may be bronzing, it can be defoliate. So 30 to 70% chili and vegetable loss can be happened. It can infest vegetables, fruits, ornamentals, different kinds of crops. If you want to manage this pest, the first one you have to use the insecticide. So that is also cost involvement, and that also impact the environment or the human health or the biodiversity. It can be effect. So Bangladesh recently detected, and it major threat is chili, brinjal, papaya, bean, cucurbit. So production cost is higher. Pesticide can be used indiscriminately. That may be misuse can maybe happened, and it actually risk our export. Already we are affecting this one, because from the plant quarantine wing, they actually reported that European Union already makes some condition that any kind of agricultural product, especially the vegetables or fruits, it must be disinfested by the Thrips parvispinus. So it is a our great loss, I think. So it may be our affect our farmers' income and food security and SPS compliance. So this is our main target, that we made this contingency and response plan, and you can see that just it is a pilot basis. How much cost is involved, that I would like to show here. That is for the surveillance and diagnosis of this pest for the specific area, for the capacity building and training, especially for the identification, for the management, and finally the response operation, but especially the containment operation for the IPM input, that means integrated pest management and logistics. So it is more than core. It means it is not the all over the country, but a specific area. But if you want to do in the whole country, you have to spend a lot of money for this. That means once the invasive species invaded in any country, that might cause huge loss, and you have to actually you have to invest a lot of money to minimize this loss. So the challenges of this invasive pest management system, we can say there are a lot of challenges we face, especially the local impact and global drivers. Impact locally is maybe higher, but it might be a global pest. So we have to consider these things. And inconsistency of definition and data formats. We don't have any kind of data formats, especially if you consider in Bangladesh, and lack of information also about the impact. We don't know that how much impact it can be happen any kind of invasive species. We may identify for few one, but if you consider some other invasive species that we listed here and we presented here, maybe it is huge, but we don't have any kind of data. But we cannot predict the establishment success and generalize invasive species impact across systems. As we see that is the arthropod one, that is the plant pest, that is weed, that is aquatic, that is tree. So it has every pest has different impacts. So we have to isolate this one. So once established, it is most difficult to remove, because our environmental condition is subtropical, and it is mostly favorable for many of the insects, arthropods, for pathogens, or maybe to. So once it is established, it is very difficult. Like fall armyworm of maize, you may know that is once it is established, we have to stay with the fall armyworm, but we can make it minimized by using different management options. So we have less knowledge about the control of invasive species, because the new species, so we have to know the life history parameters, life table parameters, then we can take the appropriate measures. But we have not always not knowledgeable about the invasive species. Here, multiple actor agencies are also involved. So strong coordination is a challenges, because sometimes maybe research, extension, academics have not well coordinated. This is one of the important challenges. We have limited fund and manpower, but for this management and other things, so fund and management is one of the important things that can to help to manage the invasive pest. So natural disaster and climate change, this is not in our hand. Sometimes due to the climate change and natural disaster, some of the pests can be embedded in the new country. As you know that the whitefly, if you see the coconut plant, 100% plant is infested by rugosis spiraling whitefly. You can see that white mass is over there. So this is actually, sometimes some people say that due to the storm of Ayla, you may know, in Bangladesh once happens. So disaster, natural disaster. So the natural disaster or wind flow that actually bring back from India to Bangladesh. So sometimes this kind of natural disaster is not in our hand. That's also a challenge. And environmental pollution, due to environmental pollution, many kind of predators or beneficial insect is not available. So these things actually are the one of the challenges for the invasive pest management system. Another thing is public awareness and wait and see approach. So we are not actually act rapidly or instantly. Sometimes bureaucracy is one of the important thing. That one maybe issues that there is a red alert that some pest is coming, but we say, okay, wait, we will see later. Maybe that is the after the impact we want to do something, but it is already late. That I show you earlier, that is the cost benefit. If you take long time, it will, the cost benefit ratio will be reduced. So that wait and see approach is one of the challenges. And lack of invasive alien species system research. Only few actually laboratory or university laboratory work on invasive alien species. So but recently some of the international organizations, especially the CABI, FAO and CIMIT, they work some of the collaboration with the academic institution about the invasive alien species management system. So the way forward is, any kind of invasive alien species, we must have to know the taxonomy morphology with management. This is the first. Once you can identify invasive alien species, then you have to go to the management. If you can't identify, you cannot make the management approaches. So it must have the coordinate that has the especially institution for the invasive alien species system who can coordinate the activities in the management of invasive alien species. We don't have any kind of institution to coordinate all these things. DOF, Department of Fisheries, they did aquatic. Livestock, they did another one. DAE, they did another one. But we don't have any coordinated actual institution to deal the invasive alien species system. So it must need the National Technical Committee who can actually do this kind of things and coordinate among the organization. We have to build the capacity for the extension agent and increase their knowledge and raise awareness about the invasive alien species. Because if the extension worker don't know, they cannot identify and they cannot report it rapidly or in the real time. So we have to develop a list of invasive alien species system and describing its occurrence, types and impact. I'm very happy to say that I'm involved in this process, that we developed a quarantine pest list first in Bangladesh, that is the pest risk register, and already adopted by the Department of Agricultural Extension Plant Quarantine Wing. So we did these things, and we have to develop the capacity for the management and cost estimation to minimize the impact of invasive alien species. This kind of research work we have to do, and we have to make the sustainable way for the resource generation and capacity building. And coordination among stakeholders, both in national and international level, is must, because many of the invasive species, as it is new, maybe we don't have a lot of information on this specific issue. Maybe then international development partners, they can intervene over there, and they can also give some technical support for the management of invasive alien species. So coordination between the national and international agency is must, because it is not a local issue, because invasive alien species is a global issue. So global coordination is helpful to manage these things. So these are the things that I have to say in my workshop, because I know that this is the last session, I think. So we have a little work. I don't know, maybe already is here. I don't know how to coordinate these things, but we have at least 3, 4 participants. I don't know how to participate this one to any kind of activities, if possible. Or I think if it is not possible, then we can discuss these things here. I think it better, because we cannot make some group. I have a plan to make some group and do some activities. So maybe we can discuss here from here. So actually SPS means uh, to make some rules or regulation to protect the plant, animal, or human from the any kind of invasive, that is pesticide, toxins, microorganisms. So these things is important for the trade, but once it is invasive species, that is SPS is must, sanitary and phytosanitary measures. So this is organization, national and regional level, they have some challenges. So we have to know that what kind of challenges the organization level, like in Bangladesh, maybe Department of Agricultural Extension, Plant Quarantine Wing, they are the NPPO. In the, and national level, maybe in different organization is involved in this process, and regional level, maybe we can say that in the Asian region. So what kind of challenges they faced, or trade barrier, especially for the SPS related, and how to overcome these challenges, maybe we can discuss these things in a few points. So I think I can go for the next step, if you don't mind. Thank you very much. Maybe we can go for the next step. Okay, Tilabda. Yeah, question segment only. Maybe I can ask some question already, because we know that the invasive alien species, I said that it is not a local issue, it is a global issue. So in that case, what are the barrier that we can face for the invasive alien species for true trade, especially for the organization level? If we consider in Bangladesh, like Department of Agriculture Extension, maybe national level, like different organization like BRC, they deal different research organization, academics, and then the regional level like Asia. So what kind of barrier we can face if there is an invasive alien species?
Thank you, sir. It was a very interactive session. I have known very new term actually, invasive species and surveillance and so on. So my question was, you said to protect it from the border area, and you have also said the natural disaster is not in our hand. And what about the insecticides using chemical or any kind of fertilizer? Is it more consuming to use to take protection from the agriculture field area, or it is more beneficial to protect it from border area? As underdeveloped or developing countries might have some barriers in that sector, like checking each and every part of the products coming from another country. So using chemical products in what it is said, agricultural fields or plants or any kind of sector that is in risk of, you said, invasive species. It would be helpful if you can give me some information.
Thank you very much. This is very important. Actually, our first target is to restrict any kind of invasive species in the border. You know that we have 30 quarantine stations in the different border, land port, like airport, seaport, and different areas. So these 30 points, it actually any kind of commodities, agricultural commodity, it is imported in Bangladesh. So it is checked thoroughly, maybe randomly. So once it is checked, any kind of new invasive species is reported, they can actually detect, or they can give some condition that you have to disinfest this kind of insects or diseases. So it is very beneficial or economic to restrict it in the border area. But once it is invaded in any country like Bangladesh, then it is very difficult, because in Bangladesh condition, the weather actually variation is not that much. So it can establish easily, and if it is the host plant is available, that means level, so it can establish or all over the country. So at that time, you have to take some appropriate measures or management to delimit its spreading. In that case, you have to use lot of pesticides. The consequence is, if you use the pesticides, if it has the residual above the maximum residue limit, MRL value, if you want to export this commodity to other countries, you cannot. Because according to Codex Alimentaris, if it exceeds the MRL value, your product will not go to the European market or any other market in the world. So it can actually affect not only the health hazard due to use of pesticides or the biodiversity, but it also affect your trade, international trade. That means it affect your economy. So our first choice is to restrict it in the border. If not, that we can restrict it in a specific region, we have to take some appropriate measures other than chemical, if possible. Or if you use that, we have to use some, that pesticide used judiciously, but it is at the last, when any other methods is not working here. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Professor, for your nice presentation. It's really one of the hot topic for now. I think, what do you think? Do we have any checklist? What kind of insect we already have in Bangladesh?
Yeah.
I think we don't have any national checklist. So this is my question, is that how we identify what species is invasive, because still now we are lacking for national checklist. And also, if you go for developed country like US or UK, you can find the insect museum. So they can collect and they can make museum like 500 years ago, what kind of insect they have, and now what kind of insect are introducing. And also, insect population is different on the climate change also. We are changing, our climate is changing every day. So what do you think? Do you have any policy level collaboration with our government to make this kind of national database for insect? And also, what do you think, Bangladesh, how many years we still need to make a national insect museum, Professor?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, that first I would like to ask that about the pest list. We have a list, but it is not well defined. That is the list made around 10 years before, but I can say it is not well documented, because there are a lot of wrong information is included. So we recently discussed with the Plant Quarantine Protection Wing that to reduce, because it actually included all the pests that recently affect our trade with Japan, because we want to export the mango. So the mango, they give us a list that this kind of pest is in your country, so you have to make it free, that there is no pest in mango, so that we can actually import. But we don't have this all pest in Bangladesh, but as it is already recorded in a list or book, so they take it as a reference. So we said that yes, it is now undergoing, that the pest list is now preparing in our country under the umbrella of BRC, Bangladesh Agriculture Research Council, that is the arthropod, especially insects, pathogens, weeds, nematodes. So these things actually will be updated, we can say, because the first one is wrongly documented. So this is ongoing process. We always discuss with the DAE, because they are the NPPO, we can say National Plant Protection Organization. NPPO is the main key point for international trade, Plant Quarantine Wing Director. So it is now ongoing. So another question you said about the quarantine museum. Yeah, we don't have national museum. We are very actually sorry for that, but we have another museum, insect museum, but it is not well documented in Bangladesh Agricultural University for insect museum. But if we consider for the nationally, then nationally we don't have any insect museum. That is a very We are very sorry for that. Maybe we can discuss these things in the policy level to make one insect museum so that we can incorporate all the insect species or arthropod species over there. Thank you. If any question, then I'll be happy. If
Probably not. We don't have any participant. And
yeah. Okay, then I'm finished with it. Yeah, okay. Okay, then thank you very much for all of your this patient hearing here. Thank you all.